This is the story of a broke bottom-tier bum who somehow got mistaken for a demon general. But deep down, his crusty is so desperate for a job, he'd mop castle floors just to make a few extra coins. Dude's so unlucky, even P. Diddy wouldn't waste a drop of lotion on him. The stories start in the middle of a dark night where the demon lord is sitting inside his demonic and decides to take over the world. However, it's not as simple as this so-called demon king thinks. He needs 4 generals to lead his army in this case, so he casts a magic to summon them. The first general is Ulmendra, who is the demon of flames, has this shady aura of flames with him. The second one is Sylphid, also known as the ultimate storm, someone who can rattle even this castle but spares it, probably out of some respect for this king. Never mind. The third one is like an earthbender named Jinnum, inspired from the infamous Avatar, and finally, the strongest general is summoned. His name is Denosuke, an average unemployed 30-year-old Japanese dude. Back in the real world, Ukimura was a hardworking employee in a corporate company, and he always wanted to get a promotion. However, nobody saw his efforts, and only the shoe lickers were promoted. Suddenly, the boss decides to send him to an offshore office for expansion, where the laborers have no money and machinery. Uchimura calls the HQ to ask for more funds and machinery, but his boss tells him to shut up. With no other option, Uchimura works like hell, like he always do, which impresses the locals and they come back to help him. Just when everything was going smoothly, he got transferred to another country. Uchimura is tired of his efforts since nobody will even appreciate him, and just like when he is thinking about sleeping forever, the bike Khan gives him the favor and he gets summoned to the demon realm. Seeing the demons around him, Uchimura wonders if he is in hell, but the demon lord tells him that he is here for a job. He tells Uchimura that he has completely checked his background and is a hardworking lad. That's why he needs Hive for his overseas expeditions. He will get all the benefits of being a general with a full salary and room for growth. The demon lord also adds that he can reject his offer and get back to his lame life. For Uchimura, these words feel like heaven, cause the demon lord is more like a good dad you never had. However, he suddenly remembers the remarks of his employees who always misjudged him and called him trash. He tells the demon lord that a tin can like him can't do anything good, but the demon lord tells him to shut up as he is the most hardworking man in all realms. Uchimura is confused about whether he should accept the offer when Ulmendra and the rest of the generals object to hiring him. The demon lord says that they will conduct a test to judge Uchimura's abilities, and Ulmendra prepares a death kick, but the demon lord stops him. Uchimura passes out with just the aura of the kick, and the demon lord tells them that he is just a mere human. Ulmendra and Jinnum start to argue about the demons and demi-humans when Uchimura wakes up, and the demon lord tells him that he needs him for his intelligence. He has been in contact with different territories, but the negotiations with the Minotaurs are not going smoothly. Hence, he will negotiate with the Minotaurs on his behalf, which scares the shit out of Uchimura. The demon lord tells Ulmendra to accompany him, and the meeting is concluded. Ulmendra acts all cocky and tells Uchimura that he won't be able to pass this anyway, so he should give up. But Uchimura always wanted to work for a boss who appreciates his hard work and recognizes him as an individual rather than a jackass. Hearing the words of the demon lord, he really wants to pass this test. They reach the gate of the Lord Terius, who is the leader of the Minotaurs, and Uchimura pisses his pants when he sees the giant bull. To make matters worse, Ulmendra says that he will turn Uchimura into a carpet. The lad is so hesitant to say anything, so Ulmendra says that she will show him how to do it. Uchimura is relieved as Ulmendra knows what the client wants, but suddenly she starts cursing him. The Minotaur also gets pissed and the meeting ends with no reason. Ulmendra says that Terius will never negotiate and leaves him alone. That's when Uchimura remembers the time he was in the bar and everyone rejected him, but he never gave up. So he decides to give it a shot, while Ulmendra tells the demon lord to reconsider his decision. When she comes back, she sees Uchimura fill in the bags with grass. She wonders what the hell is he doing. He says that he is going to negotiate with Terius and goes inside the room. After a while, Ulmendra comes rushing in and sees nobody in the room. She yells for the old lad and Uchimura appears behind her. She yells at him for not answering and asks where the Minotaur is. Uchimura tells her that he out there agreeing on the negotiations he did last night. Ulmendra can't believe that he was able to negotiate in just a night, and Uchimura takes her to see it for herself. She asks how he was able to do this, and Uchimura tells her about the incident he faced in his world. Some people won't say yes immediately, even if they agree to the terms, because they want to check your passion and dedication. Another reason was that the Minotaurs liked their grass bed, and since it was outside, Terius was anxious and couldn't get enough sleep. This gap allowed him to deal with the beast. Ulmendra is amazed to see this, and she asks if her attitude is the one to blame. Suddenly, Lord Terius arrives and apologizes for his rudeness. They seek him off, and the demon lord tells Uchimura that he has passed the test. He orders him to raise his arm and gives him the bracelet of the general. Ulmendra also raises her arm and introduces herself as the power of flames. However, she is still playing hard to get and wants Uchimura to help him out in further negotiations. The demon lord gives him an office and a map of the country to get a better view. Uchimura is so pleased by the demon lord that he acknowledges him even though know he is just a common salaryman, so he wants to make sure that he lives up to his expectations. But before starting his work, Chimera needs to introduce himself to the other members of the Big Four, so he goes to meet Sylphid. He knocks on the door, and a beautiful chick like your ex opens the door. She introduces herself as Belinda, Sylphid's assistant. She tells Chimera that Sylphid is not here, so he should get going. But Chimera thinks it is like sales, so he must strike a deal with Belinda, and Almandra comes to tell the old guy that the Demon Lord wants to see him. The Demon Lord tells Chimera that the ogres are covering a large territory in the capital, and they are very good in terms of military strength. However, if they turn against the demons, they will cause havoc, so Chimera must negotiate with them about the merger. Almandra says that she will accompany him, but first, he wants to meet Jinon, so Almandra makes a lame excuse, saying that she will check the carriages. Since ogres are demi-humans, Jinon must know something about them. She tells Chimera that the patriarch of ogres is Ogre. He's a very mean and strong bastard, so he should keep his heads up. Meanwhile, Almandra is burning up in flames since Chimera took too much time, and Jinon tells him to take this thing away. This pisses off Almandra, and they start arguing. After a while, the duo reaches the ogre's capital where the guards stop them. Almandra is pissed as it is taking too long when suddenly Oral, the daughter of Ogre, arrives. But Chimera keeps an eye on his surroundings, and the girl takes them to the patriarch. Almandra tries to introduce herself, and the bastard shuts her up, saying that she is only allowed to speak when he tells her to. Almandra is a gym rat, and he can't let anyone disrespect her, but Chimera tells her to calm down. Ogre says that he knows about the duo and they are here to join his army. However, he will only allow them to join the army if they bring the head of the Demon Lord. Hearing this, Almandra's switch flips, and Chimera barely manages to take her outside. She's pissed at the ogre for being too arrogant, but Chimera says that this is all a tactic. He wants Almandra to do something that can possibly start a war between them. In the meantime, Oral arrives and introduces herself, but things take a sudden shift when she tells them that she wants the duo to take out the Ogre King. She takes them to the storage room and explains that this used to be a storage room for food. The ogres had great influence on the neighboring empires, but now everything is crashing down. They don't have enough food even for their own people. But Chimera knew that something was off when he saw the broken armor in the guards and the cold dark hall. He explains that this happens to big organizations that used to be once at the top. When their leaders start to slack off, the company dies and becomes just like the ogre's capital. Oral is very anxious about the situation, and she reveals a bomb by telling them that her father is ill. The patriarch is not as strong as they think, but Chimera tells her to keep this a secret, since not everyone's her friend. Hearing this, she gets rizzed up and asks Chimera if he will marry her and become the patriarch of the ogres. Almandra is furious to see this, but she says that they will let her know about it. Chimaru and Almandra return to the castle, and he wonders how he can manage to negotiate with the ogre. He goes back in his self-made bar where the old man and Almandra in an office suit are talking about the strongest animal. The old man says that gorillas are better due to their pounding chest, while Almandra says that the lions have pride. Something clicks in Chimera's mind, and the next morning, Almandra joins him. She asks if he can strike a deal with Ogre, but he says that they are not going there. A week later, the patriarch calls them himself and asks why the hell the neighboring empires have merged with the Demon King's army. Turns out that this was all Chimera's plan, and this strategy is called the encircling strategy. He used this strategy in his previous life to strike a deal with a big company. At first, they refused to use his product, so he gathered a bunch of short companies nearby and gave them his product. This hurt the ego of the big company because they can't withstand the smaller companies with better products, so they started using the product as well. But Chimera knew that the neighboring tribes depended on the ogres for food, so he took an ogre with him to negotiate. Ogre says that this is crap because he never went with them, and that's when Oral appears to be the one negotiating. She tells her father that times are changing and he is not the invincible ogre he used to be, so they should get help from the demon army. But Chimaru says that they can make an alliance together, so Ogre says that he will need some time. Some days later, Almandra comes rushing to Chimera to tell him about the merger with the ogres. Meanwhile, the lad is busy choosing a partner because the Demon King told him to. He asks Almandra to be his partner, and the girl starts getting lewd thoughts. Suddenly, Oral arrives and Chimera asks if she would like to join his team. She agrees, but this pisses off Ulandra. A couple of days later, Vuchimaru is sitting in his office when Oral tells him that the negotiations with the Bearman tribe were a total success. Vuchimaru is happy that they are making fast progress, and Oral tells him that the Demon Lord will award Vuchimaru for doing the merger with the ogres. Vuchimaru can't believe it since this was one of his dreams in his previous life. Suddenly, Almandra comes in to give him the grain porridge. Ogres and the rest of the monsters in this world are mostly dependent on this source of food only. However, Vuchimaru really wants to have some meat. Almandra quickly hears it and takes him to the forest. Vuchimaru gets scared to death as Almandra tells him that there have been recent death of Ors and demi-humans in this area. Vuchimaru reconsiders his decision and wants to go back, but Almandra finds the mushrooms that the Ors were looking for. She tells him that the mushrooms are very rare in this region, so the wild boar are always after them. Suddenly, a giant magical boar appears behind them. Vuchimaru thinks that these are his final moments, but Almandra tells him to slowly retreat as she will take out the beast. She jumps in the air and lands a spinning heel kick right on the boar's forehead. Vuchimaru sees that the boars can't see the attacks from up, but they are too weak since they don't have any weapons. Almandra knows this as well, so she prepares to use her metal arm to increase her strength. The boar rushes towards her, but she wants to eat it, so instead of opening the boar, she flips her neck. They take the boar to the nearby village and Ulmandra offers to share the meat. They give a leg piece to Ulmandra and she says that she will cook it for Uchimura. The guy gets excited just hearing this and thinks that Ulmandra is a master chef and she knows how to cook. However, Ulmandra only knows how to burn the meat, so she throws a fireball at it which burns it. She tells Uchimura to eat it and our boy thinks that he is eating shit just after one bite. Ulmandra says that he critiques the food too hard and doesn't know anything. He asks if they can use the oven, but salt is very rare in this world. The pig offers a little bit to them, but Uchimura knows how to cook, so he makes a mushroom soup with grilled pork. With just one bite, Ulmandra feels the heavens and he gives it to the rest of the villagers as well. They are very impressed by such a down-to-earth general of the Demon Lord, but Ulmandra wants to do something more for them since the tribes don't have much food. She is impressed by Uchimura and lights a fireball to head back to the city. As they head back to the city, Uchimura tells Ulmandra that she should not be dependent on magic too often since she is having a hard time fighting a wild boar. So she should also master some weapons to take out the monster. Not only that, wearing lighter clothes can make her more agile. Suddenly, the fireball goes off and Uchimura wonders if this is the end of the world. Ulmandra tells him that she doesn't like the way he prefers efficiency over everything and she doesn't like a mere human like him. So she tells Uchimura to go back as she will go to the city herself and the orcs will escort him in the morning. Saying this, she jumps in the air while Uchimura gets scared of the demonic voice in the forest. He rushes back to the village and the next morning the orcs escort him to the Demon Lord's city. The Demon Lord calls Uchimura and asks what happened between Ulmandra and him since she came late at night while Uchimura came this morning. Suddenly, Uchimura starts crying saying that he is a useless piece of trash, just like you. The Demon Lord tells him to amend his ways with the demon girl, but Uchimura has no idea. He sits in the street trying to guess who is a demi-human and who is the demon, but nothing seems to work. He opens his book and sees that the demons who have a good physique are admired everywhere. That's why Ulmandra got offended since he was talking about changing her culture. Meanwhile, Oral finds Ulmandra crying in a corner and she hugs her while crying, saying that Uchimura doesn't like her body. Oral explains that Uchimura might think that Ulmandra is a female pervert because of her exposed body. Hearing this, the poor girl starts pounding her head on the floor, making a crater in the ground. On the other hand, Uchimura is in his imaginary cafe when he hits a plan once again. He rushes to find Yuandra and she is looking for him as well. When the two find each other, Uchimura tells her that her body is very beautiful and she tells him that she is not a female pervert. The misunderstanding is finally cleared and they go to the Demon Lord's award ceremony. The Demon Lord appreciates Uchimura for merging the 7 tribes and for this, he gives him a magical stone. But Uchimura takes the stone to Ulmandra saying that he wouldn't have done this without her and she thinks that Uchimura is proposing to her. Meanwhile, Belinda is looking at all of this from her globe. A couple of days later, the Demon Lord summons Uchimura, but the old man starts thinking that he has done something wrong, so the Demon Lord wants to punish him. He starts apologizing and begs the Demon Lord to let spare him. The Demon Lord is also tired, just like your father is tired of you, so he tells Uchimura to think highly of himself since he is not just any regular human. He has the most important role in the rise of the Demon Lord, but there is one thing. He asks Uchimura about the demons and the demi-humans. Uchimura replies that the demons are the only species that can use magic, and due to this difference, the demi-humans consider themselves as weaklings. That's why they hate the demons. The Demon Lord understands the situation and he wants Uchimura to come up with a solution. However, he himself doesn't know what to do, so the Demon Lord gives him a magical stone that can bless anyone with magic power. After taking a magical stone, Uchimura takes his leave, but Ulmandra keeps a close eye on him, thinking that he gave him the stone as a proposal. Uchimura sits in his office and Oral advises him to take some rest since he has been working so hard for the past couple of days. Uchimura shows the stone to Oral and asks if anyone can get magical powers thanks to this stone. Oral agrees that the stone can bestow magical powers, but one must need to master the skill of using it as well, otherwise it will be useless. Uchimura wants to know more about this, so he decides to ask Sylphid, because he is the one the Demon Lord has chosen for Uchimura in his research. Uchimura quickly goes to meet Sylphid, but there he finds Belinda once again. He asks if Sylphid is here, but Belinda denies, and just when she's about to close the door, Uchimura steps inside and says that he wants to ask her something since she is her assistant. Ulmandra is watching all of this and thinks that Uchimura is hitting on another woman. Belinda tells him to quickly ask what he wants, and the old man says that she is not Belinda but Sylphid. She denies, but Uchimura proves it and says that there is no Belinda on the demon army's roster. She admits that she is Sylphid and explains that she doesn't want to reveal her true identity because she will have to work more. Uchimura tells her about the magical device and Sylphid shows her that she has already made one. Uchimura is impressed and wants to mass produce it, but each of these magic stones cost 1,000,000 GS. Suddenly, Uchimura hits a plan and suggests making a magic stone with just a single magic instead of multiple ones. Sylphid likes the idea since it will not cost them much and the production will be fast, but Sylphid needs assistance, so she grabs Uchimura to her secret lab. Meanwhile, Ulmandra keeps knocking at the door, wondering what is going on inside. The duo wakes up the next morning and turns out that Sylphid has made the magical device in just one night. Sylphid needs a test subject, so she tells Uchimura that he will be the one, but the poor guy is unconscious, so she gives him an hour to rest. As he tries to open the door, Ulmandra opens it, which sends Uchimura Uchimura on the floor. She wonders what the hell he is doing there, and suddenly, Sylphid arrives. Olmendra asks about her assistant, but Sylphid says that there is nobody except him and Uchimura. Suddenly, Oral arrives and tells Olmendra that the Asiato birds have attacked the neighboring villages, so they need to stop them quickly. Lilim grabs Eulandra, and Sylphid thinks that this is the perfect opportunity to test their new device. They go to the fields where the Asiato birds will be arriving shortly, and Uchimura tells the demi-human's kids to go further back. The birds arrive, and Sylphid gives the stone to Uchimura. She tells him to consider it as a part of his body and channel all of his energy using his other hand. Just like that, Uchimura makes a fireball and roasts one of the birds. He is excited, but the birds are too much for him, so he keeps throwing the fireballs like heat blasts until the device breaks. One of the birds jumps on Uchimura, but Sylphid saves him. She throws a powerful punch which scares the birds away. Turns out that the lower grade magic stones are not that good for casting magic, and their experiment is a complete failure. At night, they go to the village and drink the bird's soup. One of the kids asks if Sylphid wants to drink the soup, but she denies it. Uchimura comes near her and says that he thought that all demi-humans were powerful, but these are just some kind-hearted demi-humans, and they are not that strong. Sylphid takes off her mask and explains her past. She was born into an elf family, but things went sideways, so she left her home to venture alone. That's when she met the demi-humans who gave her shelter, and she promised to make magical devices for them. However, she completely lost her purpose when she was doing her research. She tells Uchimura that the birds will attack again, so how can they use the Rosmarin device? Uchimura taps into his imaginary bar once again, and the chef provides a delicious dish, but this gives him the idea that even useless things can become powerful with different usage. He gets up and tells Sylphid to make 10 devices by tomorrow morning. The next day, the birds rush towards the village, but this time, Uchimura has placed the stones in the ground which make bizarre sounds. These sounds make them scared, as Uchimura saw this in previous experiments, and the birds run away. The experiment is a total success, and they report to the Demon King that they have successfully fend off the beasts. The Demon Lord appreciates them, and when they go outside, Sylphid praises Uchimura for making her realize her purpose once again and give him a better Rosmarin device. Uchimura steps back into his imaginary bar where he sees Olmandra and Jinnum. She is teasing Jinnum, and the kid is straight up ignoring her. Olmandra wants him to take off his hoodie, but Jinnum is busy trading stocks, and Uchimura sees that he is a professional trader. Olmandra and Jinnum quarrel with each other, and this lights a light bulb in Uchimura's mind. In order to make the demon army even more stronger, he must unite them and come to the same page. That means that he needs to make the big four friends with each other. So he decides to take Olmandra to the market. He's amazed to see such a huge market, and he calls Olmandra beautiful thanks to her new dress. She gets rizzed up and remembers that last night Oral told her to wear something more covering and wear some accessories, which will attack Uchimura. Thanks to her, the plan really worked and the date is going perfectly. But suddenly, Uchimura tells her that today's research will go smoothly thanks to her, and all of her plans go down the drain. She gets pissed and flames up in anger. She asks what Uchimura is up to today, and he says that they will be conducting research on the market to get a better idea of the people and speed up the demon army's growth. They go to a shop where the owner is amazed to see Uchimura. He tells him that the news about his works is everywhere, and he also appreciates the presence of the Demon of Flames. He thinks that the two are dating, but Olmandra tells the bastard to keep his mouth shut. The shop owner shows them his prized possessions, which are all made of gold, but he shows them two special couple of glasses that they can buy at a discounted price. But Uchimura agrees to buy them, and Olmandra starts to get lewd thoughts, but Uchimura has bought them for research. They wander here and there to talk with different shop owners. As the research is almost complete, Uchimura concludes that the exchanges between various tribes have increased very much due to his merging tactics. However, there are also some negative aspects to it, like the price of the Jimu has increased a lot because there are more mouths to feed. Olmandra also agrees, as she beat up a merchant yesterday who wasn't giving her a discount. But Uchimura explains that the price of the grain depends on the price of the wholesalers. If they want higher profits, it will increase the price, and so will the shopkeepers. Olmandra says that they should go right after them, but Uchimura reveals that the wholesalers are supervised by a group of people called the Guild, and if they make a move quickly, they can get in trouble. In the meantime, Jinnum arrives, as this is the day to give some gifts, but she doesn't want to give it to the demonic girl nearby. Suddenly, two old rabbit men arrive and ask Jinnum for her help, but Uchimura asks what is the problem, and the two explain that due to the price hike, their chimozu wasn't selling at all. But yesterday, a merchant arrived who asked her to make chimozu at a discounted price, and he ordered 300 of them. The old rabbits didn't sleep to complete the order, but when the time came, the merchant declined to take the order since the chimozu must be eaten the same day they were made. The food will soon get rotten, and such a loss will put them out of business. Jinnum looks at Uchimura since he is the one who is good at negotiating, so he gives her his word that he will help them. He eats the chimozu and tastes pretty similar to mochi back in the real world. But Uchimura sees that it doesn't have a strong taste, but they can use it with different dishes. The two rabbits explain that most of the old people used to eat it, but now nobody even knows its name. In fact, the two rabbits who made them don't even like it. But Uchimura knows what he has to do, so he orders them to come up with a new recipe and sends Olmandra to ask the shopkeeper's assistance. After that, he goes to the market with a drum to tell them about the Ruya Day. On this day, a girl and a boy fell in love, but the king wanted the girl as his queen, so he didn't allow her to meet the boy. Still, they met in the moon moonlight and ate chumozu, and their wishes were finally answered. But Chimera uses this story told by Genom and tells everyone to buy some chumozu for their beloved people. Just like that, everyone starts buying the chumozu to make a wish, and turns out that most people are young. That's why Uchimura told the rabbits to come up with a new recipe, which will reposition them for their new audience. In the afternoon, the rabbits praise the dew for helping them sell out all the chumozu, and they give some of them to Chimura. He takes them and sits together with Olmandra along with the couple's glass. She thinks that this is finally the time to become an adult and marry Uchimura, so she asks him about his wish. But Chimura wishes for another successful case, and this enrages Olmandra as her hopes die in an instant. Uchimura goes back to the demon castle and reports to the demon lord. He says that they should start trading with a city that has the most reserves of gold, which can also help them deal with the food problem. However, gold is expensive, so the demon lord suggests trading the Rosemarin. But Chimera thinks that this is not a good idea, but the demon lord tells him that nobody can copy what Sylphid can do, and the demon army has the most talented people. But Chimera is really inspired by this, but the demon lord warns him to beware of the gold city's ruler, as he's a pain in the butt. It has been a few months ever since Uchimura became one of the big four, and now he wants to travel to the Rampage Kingdom to negotiate about the gold supply. Olmandra warns Uchimura not to make the king mad, since he is a very unpredictable person and things can go sideways very quickly. She also tells him that once a merchant made him mad and he fed the bastard to the crocodiles. Uchimura shits his pants and decides to leave while Olmandra advises her a bunch of stuff. Uchimura reaches the Rampage Kingdom and he sees that gold is still used as a measure of exchange. His main aim for today's negotiations is to start trading their grains like Jumu for gold, because ever since the merger, the population of the kingdom has increased very quickly, and they even have to import grain from other countries. He goes to the palace and waits for the king to show up. Suddenly, the king arrives, and as Uchimura is about to introduce himself, the king interrupts him, saying that he knows everything about him ever since he became one of the big four. The king asks why Uchimura is here, because he has been an overseas expatriate for a few months now, and why he came here late. Uchimura is taken off guard because the man with more power wins the negotiation, and the king knows this very well. Uchimura says that he is here to give the king some presents, and he shows him a bunch of utensils made of the finest silver. The king is more like Zeus, so he quickly destroys them with his lightning. He asks if the old lad is trying to make fun of the city of gold. Turns out that this is all a tactic, and Uchimura shows him the real gift, the Rosemarin device. Since he has researched very well, Uchimura tells the king that these devices can fend off magical beasts like the golems that attack the miners. The king finds it interesting, but he wants to test it, so he unleashes a giant crocodile. Uchimura starts remembering Olmandra, but he quickly uses the device. The crocodile turns away and jumps on the king, but it gets turned into coal instantly. The king is impressed by Uchimura and his device, so he agrees to buy it. He gives him 7 million worth of gold bars for the gifts, but he wants more. So he orders him to make 200 Rosemarin in 1 week and gives him heaps of gold bars. But Chimera returns to the palace and tells Sylphid about the situation, but she says that it is impossible to do so. She explains that the organization is new and Uchimura has no idea what is going on. The old man knows this, so he explains that the Rosemarin required in their country should have already been supplied, meaning that Sylphid is slacking off. She admits to making 200 of those, but suddenly, a messenger from the king arrives and says that the king wants 100 more Rosemarin since they are working pretty well. But Chimera is burned out after so much hassle, and Oral asks how much does one device cost them. He reveals that one Rosemarin costs 5,000 G, and for 300 it would be 150 million G. Oral asks how Uchimura can do this, and he explains that he used the anchoring effect. He purposely used the high-quality silver utensils as a gift because the king wouldn't like them. However, they were so luxurious that the king noticed them. Hence, when he showed him the Rosemarin device, he was convinced that it was also a luxury item, and since nobody else was selling it, they got to decide the price of the product. This is called the anchoring effect, and as they are talking, the messenger comes with more orders. Sylphid is pissed, but she wants to fulfill the orders, so she hires more people. The first orders are delivered successfully, and Uchimura thinks that he will become Andrew Tate in just a month. However, everything comes crashing down when the messengers arrive yet again to cancel all the orders. She explains that people are selling the Rosemarin for half the price in the market, so the king wants to order from them. This news spreads like wildfire, and everyone gets concerned. But Chimera is frustrated since everyone is disappointed and the stakes are high. He remembers what his coworkers used to tell him in his previous life, so he goes to the demon lord. He explains that due to his negligence, he didn't see the different possibilities, and that's why their only source of gold has disappeared. He apologizes to the demon lord, but the king is a good guy, so he tells him not to be ashamed. As human beings, everyone is bound to make mistakes, but the real ones are those who make up for their failure. But Chimera loves his boss, so he agrees to make up for this. When he returns, he finds Genom standing outside, and he apologizes for his mistake, but she tells him that it's not a big deal. After that, he goes to Sylphid, but she just wants to read her book. Suddenly, someone puts a bag over Uchimura, and he thinks these are his final moments, but turns out that it is Olmandra. She is cooking a steak for Uchimura since he has been working hard, and he appreciates her support. Oral also joins them, and they enjoy the night. The girls fall asleep, and Uchimura covers them before getting to work. Meanwhile, in the Rampage Kingdom, we see that the merchant who supplies the half-price Rosemarin is Budagarian, the bastard who tried to put the rabbit habits out of business. Uchimura thinks of the possible causes that have caused his plan to fall apart. Tearing apart the Rosemarin device and studying it isn't possible for everyone, and making a copy in just a month is impossible. But Uchimura taps back into his imaginary bar, and there Sylphid arrives with a guitar. She starts making a wandered melody like the cowboys, and this hits Uchimura very hard. He thinks that their products are getting stolen from within the villages. Suddenly, Olmandra arrives and says that the Rosemarin isn't working, which is even more disastrous. Nobody wants to buy faulty products, so Uchimura and Olmandra go to the village. The villagers complain that they will run out of food if the magical beasts keep attacking them. But Uchimura digs up the holes and finds out that all of the Rosemarin devices are gone. They return to the office, and Uchimura thinks that the villagers are stealing it, but there must be some places that still have the devices. So he orders Oral and Olmandra to tell him about all the locations that filed a complaint about the magical beasts. At night, they sneak into a village that has not reported a complaint, and Olmandra wonders why they are here. But Uchimura tells her not to make a noise, and she thinks that she's going to become an adult today. But it is still business for Uchimura, as a bunch of thieves in hoodies are seen stealing the Rosemarin device. Olmandra lights the sky with the fireball, and Uchimura asks who they are stealing it for. The demi-humans pounce on Uchimura, but Olmandra kicks the guy's butt. He takes down the other one, but they manage to run away. She chases after them, but Uchimura tells her not to, since he has already set up his plan. In the Rampage Kingdom, Rudagarian gives the additional quantities of the Rosemarin to the king, and the king is really impressed by him. In less than a month, Rudagarian is giving them a continuous supply of the devices, and he has also set up a major organization. Rudagarian acts humbly, saying that this is what a good merchant does. He returns to the village, and Rudagarian is famous for his two aliases. One is the Prophet, and the other is the Grim Merchant. He's very good in business, and everyone calls him a prophet because he buys goods at lower prices and sells them at a higher price. When one of his men brought him the Rosemarin device, he was impressed by such a good product, but when he took the device to his crafter, he refused to make it since it was very hard to do so. So the Grim Reaper merchant kicked in, and he decided to steal the Rosemarin devices from the villages. The next day, Rudagarian is entering the Rampage Kingdom when the guards stop him and take him to the king. He wonders what the hell is going on, and the king shows him that all of his stones are not working. Rudagarian is scared and says that he will never sell a faulty product to his king. The king gets pissed, and Rudagarian wonders what is going on, since these are the Rosemarin devices buried around the villages. Suddenly, a man in a suit walks in who is none other than Uchimura. Rudagarian shits his pants after seeing him because Uchimura was the one to subdue the leader of the Minotaurs, and he considers him the most dangerous person in the Demon King's army. But Uchimura explains that he made those inferior quality devices that had no power and buried them around the villages thanks to his army. However, he didn't sell any of those to Rudagarian, so he asks how he got those. Rudagarian knows that he messed up big times, and it was thanks to Sylphid that she made a bunch of inferior devices just in one night. Rudagarian is now caught up pretty badly, and there is nowhere to run or hide. He is now at the mercy of the king, so he starts begging for his life. He makes false promises to the king so he can spare his life, but deep down, he just wants to start from scratch again. But the king is a cocky brat, so he captures him in his lightning swords and summons the dragon crocodile. The beast is about to eat the pig when Uchimura interferes. This infuriates the king even more, so he wants to kill Uchimura as well, but the lad tells him to hear his reasons. He explains that gold is depleting in the Rampage Kingdom, and they need to extract the gold from minerals too, which requires a special orange powder. This powder can only be provided by Rudagarian because only the country of Toki has this powder. There have been countless wars for this resource, and they only allow Rudagarian to trade it because he has been trading with some countries even in war times. The king asks why Uchimura wants to save this big pig, and he explains that he is naturally a helping guy. The king bursts out laughing and tells the dude to leave as he's going to sleep. Rudagarian appreciates Uchimura for helping him out and thinks that he is a manipulator, but Uchimura can't even move due to the fear that Rudagarian carries him. Suddenly, Oral and those hooded thieves arrive who turn out to be Rudagarian's kids. He saved them during war times and raised them as his own kids. Rudagarian is really impressed by Uchimura, and Uchimura wants Rudagarian to continue trading with the Rampage Kingdom because they need a pro merchant to do this. Rudagarian is moved to tears and says that he will do anything for his kids and agrees to change his ways of trading. As Uchimura is about to leave, Rudagarian tells him that he has heard that the guilds in the Demon King's territory are moving quickly, so they should be careful. The Demon Lord tells Uchimura about the rising prices of the gem, which are greatly affecting their kingdom. Uchimura says that their supply has also decreased, and it is probably because of the guild master who controls the supply of gem. He remembers what Rudagarian told him about the guild master, so he wonders why they are doing it. Olmandra explains that the guild master is a greedy brat who wants to become filthy rich, so they should take him out at once. But the Demon Lord has some other plans, so he orders Uchimura to clean this mess, while Olmandra is sent to the north. As Uchimura gets outside, he is greeted by Sylphid, and he is shocked to see her in new clothes. She tells him to call her Belinda while he is with her, and she wants to accompany him to the guild master. They go to the city and wait for the guild master. They wait for hours before the guild master shows up, and when he does, Sylphid erupts with anger. Uchimura gets scared because this is not how negotiations should go, but turns out that the guild master, Viper, is Sylphid's sibling. The two of them are disgusted to see each other, and Viper asks if Sylphid is here to complain. She says that she has no no business with him and Uchimura is the one for business. Uchimura asks Viper to trade some gem with them since there is a shortage of supply, but Viper is a very sinister person. He says that they don't have much on their end and a lot of people want to buy it, so if they want to trade it, Uchimura should bow down before him. Stillfit is pissed, but Uchimura bows down, begging to trade with him. Viper laughs it off, saying that he was just joking, and he agrees to trade the gem. However, he is selling one bag for 50,000 G, which is too much. Before leaving, he tells Uchimura not to bow down with no hesitation or else he will be a joke for everyone. After that, Stillfit prepares a fireball to burn the guild's building, but Uchimura refrains her. She explains that she was born to the Lord Pent's family, and to increase their number, the Lord will interbreed with different species. She was born to an elf while his brother is a naga. That's why they have different desires, and the nagas are very greedy. They even sold their own brethren to the traffickers. Suddenly, a poor girl in dirty clothes comes rushing to ask for help. She introduces herself as Nea, and she is forcefully pulled to work for the Lord Pent's family. But Uchimura scans her from top to bottom, and Stillfit thinks that he is a pedophile. He takes her to a shop to buy her clothes, and then they settle down where Nea explains that she was separated from her parents and she and her siblings are being forced to work for the guild. She also reveals that there are rumors that soon there will be bloodlust for food, and these rumors have been coming from the guild. Viper owns the guild, and almost all members are from Lord Pent's family, while the other are bribed. They are selling the gem in small quantities to make the most profit out of it. But Uchimura needs a valid reason to counterattack Lord Viper, and Stillfit says that they should just stab him at night. But Uchimura tells her to keep her mouth shut, and suddenly he hits an idea. The next day, a man anxiously tells Lord Viper about the demon army with fear in his voice. Turns out that the trio has arrived to audit the organization. This is the guild's duty to let them check the ledgers and the storage, so Viper agrees that they conduct the audit. They rush to the strange room, but when they open it, they find nothing inside. However, Uchimura sees the marks of gem being dragged on the floor, and he asks about the gem. Viper says that he sold it to a buyer and all the officers are already present in the guild, meaning that they have been backstabbed. The audit is a complete failure, and they go back to the Demon Lord's castle. But Uchimura wonders how can they do everything so quickly, and Stillfit explains that they might be buying the gem under the name of Lord Pent instead of the guild, so it didn't pop up in the records. As for the trader, everyone knows it is none other than the little girl Nea. Viper appreciates her for helping her, but she asks where is the gem. Viper reveals that it is in a cavern and will return in a couple of days. Turns out that Nea was born in the lowest branch of the lowest family, and one day, Viper came to take her since they can't refuse the orders from the main house. He would assault her daily, saying that she reminded him of her elder sister, so Nea did her best not to look like her. Meanwhile, Uchimura is back in the market and taps into his bar where he sees his best colleagues complaining about the harassment and unfairness in the company. They promised each other to climb up the corporate ladder, but nothing comes to Uchimura's mind. Suddenly, Almandra comes back from the north along with a wyvern. But Uchimura has studied about these dragons, and Almandra explains that she defeated 30 of them. She brought one for the Demon Lord. Hearing this, an idea hits Uchimura, and he praises Almandra for being a genius, which flatters her. Looking at the wyvern, he is ready for his account with the guild. The next day, Uchimura calls Nea because they are planning a new strategy. Stillfit says that they don't have many tricks in the bag, so Uchimura announces that they will use the dragon strategy. Hearing this, Nea thinks that they are going to take out the guild, but suddenly, Oral and Almandra arrive. She reveals that the order is ready, but Almandra gets jealous of the little girl standing close to Uchimura. He reveals that their new strategy is distributing cooked dragon meat all over the capital to meet the food shortage needs. Nea is confused, so she asks how they are going to distribute the meat, and just when Uchimura is about to reveal it, Stillfit stops him. Nea knows that Stillfit is suspicious of him, so she sneaks into the office late at night and finds the distribution plan. When she comes out of the office, Stillfit corners her, saying that she is the real threat and a disgusting brat who used Uchimura's kindness for evil purposes. Nea says that this is all Stillfit's fault, and she uses a smoke bomb to run away. She tells Viper about the dragon's strategy, and he thinks that the meat won't be able to replace Jimu completely. He asks about the plan, and Naya reveals that the distribution will start tomorrow. Viper asks about the location, and Naya hesitates a bit. She says that they will start from the suburbs and move to the center street, but in reality, they're starting from the street. Naya has tied the truth with a lie, but Viper can see right through her lies. He says that Uchimura is not a stupid guy, so he will never start from the suburbs, but from the center street. He's a naive person who will not do anything unreasonable. Viper trusts Uchimura more than Naya, so now it is time for Naya's punishment. Back in the office, Stillfit tells everything about Naya, and Uchimura still feels sorry for the little girl. He explains that Naya had bruises on her chest when she first met him, and that's the reason she bought unrevealing clothes, so the bruises on her body can't be seen. Stillfit thought that Uchimura was a pedophile. It turns out that she was completely wrong. However, they are still not sure if Naya is being abused and assaulted. So Uchimura explains that he had 3 colleagues in the office who used to work very hard, but the seniors would harass and insult them, and soon the shine in their eyes disappeared. Naya has the same eyes as well. Meanwhile, Viper is eagerly waiting for tomorrow, and Naya is locked up in the cell. The next morning, a guard comes yelling inside Viper's room and tells him that the Jim hasn't arrived yet. Viper thinks that this is not a big deal, and the guard reveals that the demon army is starting to distribute the meat. Viper still takes it lightly, but he shits his pants when the guard tells him that the demon army is distributing distributing the Jimu. The demon army is distributing the Jimu for free, and as Viper makes his way to the center street, Sylphid encounters him. She says that all of his plans were a total failure since they have gathered enough Jimu, and she will end him for good. Viper thinks that this is all crap, but Sylphid reveals that they used a friendly merchant to get free Jimu from the neighboring countries by exchanging the wyvern meat. Viper says that it is impossible to import such a large quantity in a short period of time. Sylphid reveals that they used the ox carts to transport the Jimu, and they have been planning it before Uchimura came to visit him. Viper is shocked by the tactics of Uchimura and thinks that he is being played. He runs away, but Sylphid won't let him. However, the two personal guards of Viper stop her. They use magic and martial arts together, but Sylphid has made a new weapon. It uses the Rosemary device to absorb the magic and attack back with the same force. She takes out the two guards with ease while Viper is pissed. He thinks that he can bounce back as he is still the leader of the guild. Suddenly, Uchimura and the merchants corner him. Uchimura explains that Viper is no longer the guild master since the merchants have voted against him. Viper throws the votes in the air saying that they can't do this, but Uchimura reveals that all the merchants agree after hearing out Naya. Turns out that Uchimura helped Naya to get out of the prison, and since he had already gathered the merchants outside, Naya shows them the bruises on her body, so they agree to take out Viper. The bastard still can't believe it and threatens Naya that she's in grave danger, but she tells him to shut up as she can take care of her family herself. With no other option, Viper starts to beg Uchimura to spare his life. He thinks that Uchimura will take pity on him just like he did with Butagarian, but Uchimura rejects. He says that Viper must atone for his sins, and the bastard turns into a real Viper. He pounces on Uchimura, but suddenly Sylphid slashes him. He is taken into custody, but Viper says that the real danger is coming very soon. Uchimura takes Naya to the castle and says that she will be his secretary. Naya apologizes since she is the one to stab him in the back, but Uchimura reveals that the Jimu was delayed thanks to her father, so he will repay him by taking care of her. Oral arrives and Uchimura tells her about the new secretary. Naya is happy to have a big sister, and Oral takes her to see the castle. Uchimura taps back into his bar where he meets his old colleagues, but suddenly Oral arrives and tells him that the demon Lord is urgently summoning him. That's when we see a horde of wyverns coming towards the capital. The demon king sends Omandra and Uchimura to defend the demon kingdom. He asks Omandra where they are going, and she reveals that the wyverns have attacked the territories near the capital. These disasters are very tragic, and in the past, these have proved fatal for the kingdoms. Uchimura asks, what is this disaster? And she explains that just like natural calamities, these calamities are by demons or animals. Suddenly, Oral calls them, and they have reached the greatest fort of the kingdom. It is called the Demon Fort, and it is at the front lines of the wyvern attacks. Genome is already present in the fort, and she welcomes them. She says that Uchimura has been a hero ever since he came to the kingdom, and she is sure that he will find a way to defeat these wyverns as well. However, Omandra hates Genome and the demi-human, so she tells her that Uchimura is not a hero, but a weakling who can't even take a single blow. She insults him to defend the lad. The tension rises among the two generals. Suddenly, the bell rings and the scout tells them that the wyverns are incoming. The demons and the demi-humans prepare to attack them, but neither does the magic nor the arrows work on the wyverns. There is tension between the demi-humans and the demons since they see each other with disgust. Omandra sees this and jumps into action to take out the wyverns. Suddenly, a wyvern appears behind Uchimura and the others, but Genome takes it out with a single slash. The two generals command their respective forces, and they finally manage to defend the fort against the wyvern wave. The demi-humans and the demons are together in this fort, but the demons consume a lot of food since they use magic. Uchimura takes a break for Genome, and she tells him that he is completely useless on the battlefield. Uchimura admits that he is not good on the battleground, but he can use his tactics outside the battlefield. Uchimura points out that there are three major problems in the fort. The first one is that it will fall sooner or later, but not due to the wyverns. It will fall due to internal conflicts because the demi-humans and the demons can't get along with each other. The other thing is that the fort requires plenty of resources, especially food, since the demons consume a lot of it. The third factor is the psychological difference. The demi-humans can work together like a team, but the demons mostly depend on their individual abilities. Genome replies that she already knows the problems. She wants Uchimura to find the solution, and he asks if she can show her the fort's map. After seeing the map, he asks what is behind the fort, and Genome says that there is an abandoned village. They go to check it out and suggest that they should use the empty buildings. The next day, the demi-humans and the demons gather at the main gate of the fort. Omandra asks why they are here, and suddenly, Genome announces that their savior is here. Uchimura comes on the stage with the general's coat on his shoulder, and everyone is happy to see him since he has the most respect in the kingdom, and everyone is aware of his achievements. Turns out that Genome convinced Uchimura to command the army last night because he is neither a human nor a demi-human, and only he can lead them thanks to his communication skills. Uchimura is scared, but he understands the situation and starts yapping about the history between the demi-humans and the demons. He explains that there are many differences between them, but they should join hands to save their country. He gives a motivational speech like Andrew Tate, and the army gets ready to die for him. He calls it the sword and shield plan. At night, the second wave of wyvern appears, and thanks to Uchimura's organizing techniques, the demi-humans hold them back, and on his signal, the demons from the village take out the wyverns. They single-handedly take out all the dragons, and there is no casualty. Everyone appreciates Uchimura for making such an unbreakable plan. After that, Olmendra goes to take a swim and clean herself, and Naya says that Uchimura is discussing something with Jinom and Olmendra can't leave him alone. But Oral tells her to clean herself first or else Uchimura will be disgusted. Jinom appreciates Uchimura for his plan, and he explains that the current plans are not good. The food is distributed equally, and that's why some forts consume more than the rest. So Uchimura says that they will bring all the supplies to a common warehouse. From there, they will distribute the resources to the forts according to their needs. Jinom appreciates his plan, and suddenly, Olmendra jumps in. He teases Uchimura, saying that he is blushing after just hearing some flattering words. Meanwhile, Oral arrives with the stakes. Everyone enjoys it. However, Uchimura wants to make a better plan to defend the forts and get an idea of the behavioral patterns of the wyverns. He sees that the wyverns attack each fort once at a time, but suddenly, Oral and Naya reveal that the two forts are under attack simultaneously. Uchimura is shocked by the change in behavioral difference, and Olmendra is the only one taking out the wyverns. She tries to keep up with the wyverns and manages to take out all of them. However, she runs out of energy in the last attack and falls to the ground. Uchimura barely manages to reach her, and as her eyes close, she only sees Uchimura coming to her aid. Olmendra is taken back to the castle, and Naya is attending to her. Uchimura comes in to check on her, and Naya explains that Olmendra is doing fine as she doesn't have many wounds. However, she consumed more mana for her magic attacks, which proved to be a heavy toll on her body. Uchimura regrets his decision of sending her back, but the fort would have fallen without her. Suddenly, Olmendra starts yapping in her sleep, telling Uchimura to eat more meat. The old lad is happy that her comrade is fine, and he goes back to the drawing board. Oral tells Uchimura that several wyverns attacked even more villages, and even her home village of the orcs was also attacked. The wyverns also took some of her friends hostage, and currently they are waiting near a lake up north. Uchimura tells Oral to go back to her village and attend to the injured. Oral asks if he will be fine without her investigating the wyverns, and Uchimura replies positively. He sends a bunch of guards with Oral to assist her back to her village. Now he's alone to work because Olmendra is injured. Selpid is scouting while Jinom is defending the fort. Not only that, the sleep is getting onto Uchimura, and he can't think about any plan. The vision is blurring, but it is not a time to rest. He taps into his bar, but this time there is nobody in the bar, including the chef. Suddenly, everything starts vanishing as the demon lord arrives at the bar. He asks what Uchimura is doing there, and he apologizes for not devising a plan right away. The demon lord orders him to go to sleep right at this moment, but Uchimura thinks that this will not come in handy. The demon replies that without proper sleep, Uchimura can't devise a proper plan. Even if he does, it will result in the deaths of his soldiers. Uchimura agrees because a strategist must think clearly before doing anything. The demon lord puts Uchimura to bed, and he thinks that he is getting hallucinations about it, but the demon lord in fact puts him to bed. The next morning, Uchimura wakes up and he feels completely refreshed. He instantly gets to work to know the behavioral pattern of the wyverns and returns to the fort. Jinon tells her that she feels sorry for Olmendra, but since he is here, he must have a solid plan. Uchimura goes outside to address the demi-humans and the demons for their final plan called the Last Rebellion. It turns out that Uchimura knows the behavioral pattern of the wyverns, and he tells Jinom that the dragons are attracted to female soldiers. When they sent the female soldiers back to the village, the wyverns attacked the other two forts because the females were more in number there. Also, when the females returned to the demon lord's castle, the wyverns followed them, and since the demons use more magical power, they attacked Olmendra and the others. Jinom thinks that this is a valid reasoning since some animals also like to eat female animals because they have more nutrients. Now, it is up to Uchimura to convince the soldiers to fight for him. He tells them that they will use the demon females as a decoy and take out the wyverns once and for all. However, due to the absence of Olmendra, the demons are concerned about the plan. Uchimura knows this well, so he tells them he is not a hero, and he is not even from this world. Just like the rest of them who belong to different tribes, races, and villages, he is the same as well. Not only that, he also thought a hero would save their country, but turns out that there are no heroes in this world, and only they themselves can claim the victory. The soldiers get pumped, and they are ready to take out the flying bastards. The battle begins, and the wyverns attack the fort. The demon females are kept behind the fort to lure the wyverns. However, this is all the strategy to encircle the wyverns and take them out using the demon magic. But the wyverns are too much, so Uchimura keeps telling them where to attack from. After a long battle, the wyverns finally fall down, and they wonder if the battle is really over. Suddenly, the light shines through the dark clouds. A giant wyverns with red scales come through the clouds. The red wyverns prepare a devastating blow like Kamehameha and shoot at the fort, destroying it. Uchimura tries to think of a way to defeat it, but it is too late, and the wyvern is already face to face with Uchimura. Just when the old lad is about to be killed, someone stops his hand, and it turns out to be Olmendra. She apologizes for coming late, and since she has consumed a lot of magic, she prepares a new magical attack that pierces right through the wyvern's arm. Jinom also jumps in and cuts off the other arm. Sylphid also joins them, and the big four of the Demon King's army prepare their final attack to finally take out the final boss. Olmendra tells Uchimura to ring the victory bell, but Uchimura thinks that this is not over. The wyverns have been taking female demons, but they don't. Worse so, Uchimura thinks that the real calamity is still incoming. Suddenly, the earth shakes, and a mountain-sized wyvern appears in front of them. The demons and the demi-humans can't possibly take out such a monster, and they think that it is over for them. Just when all hope seems lost, the demon lord summons. He appreciates the Big Four for holding up till here, but now it is time for a 1 versus 1. The Demon Lord uses his magic to create a magical bomb named Megadeath and throws it on the wyvern. However, the wyvern absorbs the death and the Demon Lord then uses the Giga Death and turns the giant bastard into ashes. Uchimura tells everyone that they won the battle, and Genom says that she wants him really bad. But Olmander steps in and tells her to mind her own business. The Demon King summons the army and the Big Four in his castle. He first summons Olmandra and gives her a magical stone. After that, he summons Sylphid, Genom, and then Uchimura. He personally goes to Uchimura and tells him that he performed very well. He orders him to come to see him after the ceremony. When Uchimura goes to meet him, the Demon Lord asks what does a king means to him. Uchimura says that it might mean the leader of a nation or the ruler of a country, so the Demon Lord says that he wants Uchimura to be the king. Hearing this, he pisses his pants and says that he can't be the king because he is a weakling. The Demon Lord tells him that Uchimura has the aura of a leader, and not only that, he has played a vital role ever since he came to this world. He says that Uchimura thinks too low of himself and there are chains holding him back which he should break. But Uchimura says that he needs to think about it for a moment. Uchimura goes back to his office and remembers his previous life when he used to work in the company. He always had big dreams and ideas, but his seniors would always put him down. Whenever Uchimura suggested better ideas, he was pushed down and he was kept away from the major signings. Whenever he worked hard to set up a company, he was shifted to another one and nobody cared about him. Instead of fighting this trauma, these became chains that held him down. The Demon Lord is sitting in the castle thinking that the world has different views than Uchimura. In this world, king means power, and anyone who can defend his country can become a king. These kings don't know how to run countries and they end up making more disasters than the natural ones. But Uchimura is so confused about whether he should accept the offer and remembers the good times he had ever since he came here. He also remembers that when the Demon Lord summoned him, he tells him that he will be sent to his real world if he doesn't want to stay anymore. But Uchimura thinks that he will be sent back to the average Salaryman he was if he doesn't accept the king's offer and considers himself a coward. He makes the decision to return and prepares the guidelines for all the members. Naga and Oral are peeking through the door as Uchimura is doing this, and suddenly, Uchimura finds the letter the rabbits sent him appreciating his help. Goodbyes have always been hard for Uchimura, and the girls think that they should inform Olmandra about this. Uchimura wants to say final goodbyes to everyone and he goes to Genom. However, he is shocked when he sees that the demi-humans and the demons are training together. Genom says that she and Olmandra agree that they should work together to strengthen their forces. Genom appreciates Uchimura for helping her out, and thanks to him, she now thinks differently than the rest of the people. But Uchimura gets no chance to say goodbye, so he skips Genom and goes to Sylphid. She is also busy with something and shows Uchimura the machinery she has built for Jimmu. She tells him that this technology will be able to improve the Jimmu or produce it even more. She always resisted doing it, but when she met her brother, she remembered the poor villagers who used to feed her when she was hungry. Now she wants to make up for it, and her mindset shifted completely thanks to Uchimura. She says that if someone looks into their own heart, they will get the answer to their needs. Uchimura tries to stop her, but she says that she can't have a long conversation with him since she's very busy. Now only Olmandra is left, and when she finds him, she bursts out with rage saying that Uchimura has been meeting other girls behind his back. He wonders how the hell she knows about it, but quickly tells her that the king wants him to be the new king. However, he doesn't feel it as he is very confused about all the things that come with being a king. Olmandra smiles and tells him that even if everyone gives up on him, she will be her partner, and being flawless is his greatest weakness. But he should not back down, and the pervert starts to cry. He goes to the Demon Lord and tells him that he is ready to take on the throne, but he wants to do it in a different way. He will be a king who doesn't rely on power but tactics to become the best monarch. However, he will need assistance from his majesty and the rest of the generals to help him on every stage. The Demon Lord gets up and agrees to his demands, saying that they will take this country to an even higher level.